Well, I thought I'd go on a quick tour of the cabin. There's the cabin like I was built in 1980. It's California redwood. Whoever did this thing did a really nice job. It's really put together well. When I first got here, some of the floor was sinking in and I had to jack that up and brace it. One of these days we'll go on a tour of the inside. But I gotta clean it first. Anyway, my aunt built this cabin over here about 5 or 6 years ago. She's back in California. Her daughter lives there now. But at some point, let's see, it was around Christmas of 2014. Christmas of 2013. The well, there's a well over there. It was drilled in 1970. And it's not a very good well. It was shallow, and it had a lot of, is it alkali? It turns your sink yellow. It just wasn't very good water, but around Christmas 2013, the well went dry, caved in, or something. And they wanted like $3,000 just to pull the pump. And then who knows how much it is, how much you'd have to drill. It's $50 a foot to drill right now, I think. So anyways, I didn't really care about their well, but as a temporary measure, I thought, there's another well down here by this cafe. There's a cafe down there along the highway. And there's a good well down there. It's a deep well, it's got good water. So what I thought I'd do is just run a line up here, back to that cabin. It's about 2,500 feet, it's 700, 800 yards. And so I started digging that line on Christmas Day, 2013. And I ran a 1-inch water line, and there's a big 2-horsepower pump over by that cabin. So the pump down at the well down there pushes the water, and then this pump sucks the water, and it's really got nice water pressure. And this 1-inch line, it's about 30 cents a foot. It's that blue water line. It comes in those big rolls. So 30 cents a foot, that's not a lot of money. So it was pretty easy to do. There was a water line, 3/4 inch water line running down from this cabin over to this orchard. And so I just tied into that over there. With the equipment we have, I couldn't have dug up that rocky hill anyway. You get into these big rock ledges, it's oolite, it's limestone. It's really hard to dig through. So anyway, I tied back into that orchard line and got water back to the house. But while I was going past these hay bales here, I thought I'd run water back to this cabin, just for the hell of it. I had no intention of doing anything. So I ran that water line right up here. It goes past this Chinese elm and past these little evergreens, whatever they are. 2 of those have died, but I think the other 4 are going to live. I planted those in July. So when I run that water line right across here, goes right along by this cement. Then I put a hydrant here and ran water back into the house. And I don't have great water pressure. So at some point, I'd like to dig right here and put a pump house. And put a nice big, 2-horsepower pump. So the only pressure I have is what comes from down there. So at some point I need to put a pump of my own up here. Like I said, when I first got here, there was no water, there was no power. I lived here for 6 months with a generator. Just ran a generator into this old electrical box, ran the house. I'd have to come out and start it in the morning. At some point I came along and dug a power line over from that cabin over there. Got power back into the house. Once I had power, then I could really start doing stuff. I came right in here. The 4-aught, let's see, 4-aught I think is what it was. And I don't have great power either. Problem is it comes so far. That cabin over there actually doesn't have very good power either, but there's 240 volts over there. I've only got 237. And the problem is, if you can see that those power poles there, that's the original line they put in clear back in the 70s. And they run 6-gauge wire up to there, which was probably good for a couple of mobile homes they had right here. But now you get, that line's probably it's probably 600 yards from that cabin down to the power pole where that power comes from. The 6-gauge wire just isn't enough. So then by the time I come along and I run another 1,200 feet, even though I use 4-aught wire, I'm still underpowered. I'm bottlenecked right there at that house because of that wire. So anyway, I built this garage. Built this last October. Poured this slab of cement. This siding, I use this half-log siding. There's a sawmill over in town where you can get all kinds of wood. And this siding, if you buy it, they call it seconds. And sometimes it'll have cracks in it, and sometimes the tongue or the groove isn't quite right, and so they'll sell it at half price as a second. And it works pretty good. You just come along and seal up the holes with some silicone or something. So then I built this garage. I don't like these fluorescent lights. Eventually I'm going to replace these with those new, they sell LEDs now, like those. So we got to get some of those and put them in. Put this, eventually I need to insulate this thing. I just got this soffit or the fascia or whatever you call it up. So the next thing is insulate it and get sheeting on the walls. See, I got this old stove. It's an old warm morning. So you get that thing cooking. Warm this place up. I'm shooting with a Nikon D600 full frame DSLR. And it's really not made for walking around video like this. It's kind of hard to keep it in focus. I put this garage door in, insulated garage door, just a few weeks ago. I had to build these, just cut some angle iron, hook that spring up and hook the back of the door, bolted on that 2x4. So that's nice. My welder, I use a Hobart, what do they call that? Hobart Handler 210. Pretty good little welder. That's my Honda 500. Guy wanted $300 for that or a .22 rifle. So I ran over to the pawn shop and found a Henry .22 lever action for $200 and traded in. It's a Kawasaki Vulcan 800 that I tore apart and rebuilt. Put that new seat on and cut the back off and put a new fender on it. It's an old trailer fender. Welded on there. And that's the light from the trailer. It was kind of an older trailer. Thought that was kind of cool. New handlebars, new LED lights. I didn't have anything to do one winter, so I tore that apart and put it back together. I just put these lights in kind of over these tables where I do a lot of stuff. Sharpening my axe yesterday. I'm not sure if that's a... I just learned there's a difference between a splitting axe and a felling axe. I think that might be a felling axe. I found that. Found that laying in the dirt somewhere and put a new handle on it and getting it all tuned up. This is an old compressor somebody was throwing away. If you look right here, it says American Boiler and Tank Company. And it says 1947 on it. Somebody was throwing it away. I told him I'd take it. I used to sit down there in the Fayette store. It's called Max's Mercantile. And he bought that store in 1947 after he got out of the war. He was in the South Pacific. So he would have bought this new when he bought the store. And I'm sure in 1947, in the 50s, that was the only compressor in town. So everybody would have filled their tractor tires and car tires. I remember filling my bike tires with it when I was a kid. So I put a new pressure switch on it. And I put a new, it's a 3 horsepower Ironton compressor motor. It should have a 5, but that 3 works pretty good. It's a good old compressor, man. You run that thing up to 120 psi. Yeah, so that's a great compressor. Anyway, that's the garage I built. So anyway, that's the garage I built. I had to build a wood shed. You gotta have a place to keep your wood. Kind of a paltry supply of wood, but we're going to get some cut. I built this. This is just built out of rough cut 2x4s and rough cut 1x8s from Satterwhite. Actually, that cabin over there too that my aunt built is a Satterwhite cabin. But that rough cut lumber is really good to work with. You can build a lot of stuff with it, and it's cheap. Had to run electricity out here. Those are my saws. That's a Husqvarna 455 Rancher, 20-inch. That's a Stihl 066, 26-inch. Great saw. It's heavy. Can't run it for a long time. I decided to overlap these, which worked out pretty good, except it left cracks in the corner, but that's easy to fix and it's not too big of a deal for a woodshed. What was happening, I used a staple gun on this, which wasn't a good idea. You got to use a round nailer. But anyway, when I throw the wood against the boards there, it'd start to knock them out, so I had to put sheeting around where I stack the wood. And I need to finish that. Probably do that today. Just need to put sheeting along that side. Keep my axes here in a little place. It's a raspberry bush I planted that lived. Some rose bushes along here. It's a lilac bush I dug up and planted, and it lived. Amazing. That's a crab apple that's doing fine. That is a honey locust. There's another little Chinese elm right there. Boy, they're trashy, but they sure grow fast. That's an old, I think it's an ash tree that was planted way back, and it really didn't get watered good. And that's as big as it's gotten in 20 years, 25 years. There's a deck I built out of drill pipe. It's a drill pipe foundation with rough cut 1x8s on top. Eventually I need to come along and put a rail through the middle, like right here, and then go around the whole thing with a center rail. I think it'd look better. I built that this August. The next thing I got to do is run a water line down. I've got to run water and power down here. I'm getting tired of dealing with these hoses. I'm going to come right out of the corner of that house there and come right along past these rocks and down where this lighter dirt is. And I can put some hydrants in, and I can get some water to the water troughs. So this is where the horses and the buffalo are. Built this horse corral out of 2 3/8 drill pipe, but I really didn't know what I was doing back then. It's the first one I built. Some things I would have done different. Whiskey is a registered quarter horse. He's a really solid horse, not scared of anything. Really good trail horse. And that's Choco. He's a Mustang. I adopted him in the prison program. And he's a solid horse. He's a little nervous about things. He's very aware, very cautious. But he can walk all day, doesn't need shoes. When I do run the water line, so I ran a 3/4 inch PVC up out of this cement so I can put those insulated tanks in. So that's kind of the next thing I got to do. So I built this horse corral out of 2 3/8 drill pipe and sucker rod. And I had to build a saddle shed. It's just out of rough cut 2x4s and 1x8s. Put a porch on it. Gotta have a place to put your saddles. Made some shelves for sheds I found. Some saddle trees. A place for your bridles and ropes. Another lilac bush I dug up and planted that lived. Miraculous. Another Chinese elm. Boy, they grow fast. And that thing was like a foot high in the spring. That's a non-bug attracting box elder that's doing fine. There's a Chinese elm over here. I built a little barn to keep the hay in. And these buffalo look like they haven't had a drink today. I gotta run water down here. I'm tired of this hose crap. There's 5 buffalo in there. 3 cows and 2 bulls. Yeah. Dealing with this ice all the time. So that one in the center there, the biggest one, is the original cow. Originally got 2 cows. And in a few weeks after getting them, the one cow had a calf. And it was a big bull. I had that bull for about 3 years or so, and finally had to butcher it. Just to kind of get some new genes in the herd here. It was breeding its mom. And it bred that cow right there and had this bull calf right here. So we bought 2 more cows. The one on the back one there and that one on the left. And then this little bull here is her last calf. And that bull's mother is gone. Butchered it the same time we butchered the big bull. So I built this buffalo corral. It's out of 2 3/8 drill pipe and sucker rod again. Built my own gates. Built my own gates. That's 1 7/8 drill pipe with sucker rod, and you just cope those on the inside and burn right through the middle. Easy to do. It's about $40 worth of steel there for a $200 gate. And I built this manger not too long ago. Boy, it's sure nice to keep your hay in the manger. You attach this sucker rod to the post with these clips. And the guy, there's a weld shop over there. He lets me build those clips. I think he charges me 5 cents a piece if I build them myself. I kind of had some blowouts on the cement forms, but it worked out pretty good. I'm going to put a chicken coop over here. Build all those gates. Built this chicken coop. So I got some chickens coming around Christmas. So we got to get some places to lay eggs and some roosts and whatever else you got to do. I wasn't around. I was gone the day this run was built. And Julio did this the day I was gone. He made all those boards crooked. It aggravates me every time I come down here. And eventually it's going to get to the point where I got to rip them off and redo it. I just got to get them straightened up so they look better. And I got this pig pen I got to finish. I got to borrow my friend's generator to run the welder. So we might not get that done for a while. Anyway, that's compound. Feed these horses. My corral isn't square. I've learned a lot about squaring stuff up over the last couple years. Built this frame out of drill pipe. And then you just weld a L bracket. I used to buy them. I make them now out of 1/8 inch steel. that you just put those 2x8s on there, whatever you got, and hold it up with the bracket. You know, you can really build a lot of stuff out of that drill pipe. I built that manger over there. That drill pipe and 3/4 inch rebar. And it really works good, except they waste a lot, which is a problem. They knock it around, they tromp on it. You lose about 40% of a bale when you free feed it like that. It was a lot better to just come down here and feed it in the manger. But that drill pipe, I had a big stack of it at one time. Bought it for $1 a foot. Bought 3,000 feet of it. And if you can find it for $1 a foot, it's pretty good. Delivered. Buy as much of it as I can, if I could. As long as they keep pumping for oil and the oil market's good, there'll still be that drill pipe. I had to put my dog to sleep a couple weeks ago, day before Thanksgiving. See, it's December 5th, it's December 6th, 2015. I buried him right here. I built a coffin for him and everything. I was going to paint it and line it and do all this stuff, but I ended up just wrapping him in a white sheet and putting him in the ground. I put him here because the soil's pretty good. It's kind of a natural little drainage right here that collects a lot of water. And I figured I could plant stuff. So I didn't want the soil contaminated with paints and treated wood and all that. So there's a Chinese elm growing right there, and I can plant a rose bush and other things. And I know where there's a piece of limestone. It's oolite actually. It's nice and square. And I bought a set of stone carving tools, and I'm going to learn how to carve letters in stone, make them a headstone. His name was Scoob. He was born on October 1st, 2001, right after 9/11. So I've had him for 15 years. He's a good old friend of mine. That's where I chop my wood over there on the hill. Kind of keeps all the mess away. It's my sawbuck. Love that thing. Keeps you from bending over all the time. Keeps your wood out of the ground. Helps keep your saw out of the dirt. 1943 Willys Jeep we gotta straighten out. And a taco cart we gotta get running. So anyway, that's a tour of the homestead.